There's so many reasons to give a thank you card, and what better way than doing it with a pop-up card? Now, this is going to be a great project for those of you that are new to Dreaming Tree, as well as our seasoned veterans who have put together pop-up cards from our website before. It goes together pretty quick. I was able to cut it out with my Cricut in about 5 minutes or so. There's 3 colors, and let's take a look at what we have here in front of us. We've got these colors. We've got a parfait color and a white. This is going to be the base of our card. Now, before we get started with assembly, I'm going to do a little bit of inking. And today I've got my Dewdrop, I've got a Versa Magic and a Memento. This is Red Magic, this is Bamboo Leaves. And we're going to ink some of the flowers here, as well as the heart. And we're also going to ink some of the little leafy portions of the flowers. And just going to give it a little bit of extra oomph. And I've got my little felt applicator pads I always go to. And since we've got a light green here, I'm doing the inking with a tone that's just a little bit darker. You could probably get away with a blue, like a turquoise or a bluish color on this. I'm going with a green, and I'm just hitting the edge as well as the surface just a tiny bit. Now, these are really small pieces, so you want to be careful. And depending on your ink style, you may want to really get that ink on there, and that's up to you. As you may already know based on previous videos, I'm a big fan of trying to recreate, I guess, a natural look. So I like shadows, which means that one side of my inking may be just a tad deeper than the other side. And I like nice soft gradients, similar to what you would get when light hits pretty much anything in the material world through a nice window on a nice cloudy day, or just some sort of light that is nice and diffused, because nobody really likes those really harsh lights or photos. Let's kind of relate it to photography here for a second. That's why you typically don't get very good photos in the midday sun. It casts really harsh shadows. People squint, and it's not always the best looking. So again, I've fallen in love with that sort of look, a natural light sort of look. And for those of you that subscribe to or once subscribed to Martha Stewart Living, I had the pleasure of actually visiting her headquarters in Manhattan, and realized and discovered when we talked to the photographers there that they shoot using a lot of natural light. Sometimes they have strobe lights to fill in the shots, but the reason that their photography looks so great is because the windows in the little warehouse that they have their headquarters in, it's an old building with some really nice weathered windows. And that weathered look, or that weathered quality of the window, kind of gives a very unique diffusion to the light. And it just gives them that really nice soft look. So anyway, it's kind of a romantic sort of thing. I just like it that way. All right, so I've got the green inked. I'm gonna put this over to the side for now. I'm gonna grab another little pad here, and I'm going to use now you can use a darker pink on these. I tested this out before I got on camera here, and I don't really have a darker pink that works very well. So I'm just going with a red, because It's just a tad darker, and it still fits the, it's still in the same color palette, so to speak. So if anything, when you're deciding what inks to use, I guess it all depends on what look you're going for, but if you're just trying to kind of create a little burnt look, you want to just find a color that's similar and go a little bit darker. So a dark pink, if you have that, then great. If you don't, you'll notice that the red blends very nicely because pink is basically composed of the color red with a little bit of white in it to soften it up. Okay, so red would look great. I kind of think about it like this, especially, I'm going to relate this to my favorite season, autumn. You'll see when the leaves sit out and get burnt by the sun, you kind of see that they're a little toasted on the edge there, and that color is almost always very similar to the original color. So say you have like an orange leaf, that outer portion is going to be a deeper orange or a brown. I guess maybe that's not the best example, but just kind of, when you think about it, think about what the color would look like if you kind of sizzled it a little bit, or if it dried up on the edges. You know, what color would that be? And you know what? There's no specific rule saying it has to be that way. You can ink with whatever color you want, but again, if I was a painter, I would probably paint realism, landscapes, things of that nature. So that's kind of the direction that I'll go when I do my inking, is just kind of keep things looking natural. All right, so let's get these flowers nice and inked. And again, what I love about these little felt pads, little cotton pads, is they can really get into the little crevices here and work some of the other areas. Because if you try to do it with this, you're just going to make a mess. So this thing folds up nicely, allows me to really get into the little nooks and crannies here. You may not be able to get in all the way without having to spend a whole bunch of time trying, but I think the key to inking, especially in this style, is just being quick and subtle. And I don't like to overdo it. But again, that's all personal preference, so you don't have to do it like I do it. It's whatever makes you happy, whatever looks good to you. Okay, so again, I'm taking this, just kind of wisping it along the edges there, making sure that I'm hitting the edges, and while I'm hitting the edges, just grazing the surface ever so slightly to make sure that I get a little bit of color up on top. And again, it's very subtle, but that's how I like it. You can always add more, but if you start off real hard with too much pressure, too much ink, that's when you sometimes you can't go back and erase it. So I like to keep it simple, silly. All right, so once we're done with the inking here, we're going to begin putting some of these pieces in place. We've got some overlays on the main portion of the pop-up element. So we'll get that in place, which is very simple. It's just a few little pieces. Okay, and the assembly is going to go together really quick. Cute little card to give as a thank you. Maybe someone helped you move, or someone got you a really nice gift, or invited you to a party. Anyway, that'll make their day. Okay, so got those inked. Now let's take a look at the general assembly of this piece here. Let me get this out of the way. Okay, so we've got our base. Let's take a look at this guy here. We've got these little strips here that are going to go on here like so. We do have some little guides on here. And you know what? Since we inked the flowers, let's just hit this with a little bit of ink just to keep it consistent. So there are some little markers on the pop-up elements, and I'm not going to graze the surface that much. I'm just going to hit the edges and maybe just a little bit on the surface just to kind of make it stand out a little bit more. But anyway, back to this. There's Diana added some little markers onto the piece there to help us with placement so that we don't get it wrong. Now, if you find that you don't like those markers, we put them on a separate layer, so you should be able to turn them off in your cutting software, but I always find them very helpful, especially considering that this is my first time making this card as well. So if I can do it beautifully the first time, so can you. Okay, so again, I'm just kind of hitting the edges there. Done and done. Now let's figure out where this is all going. We've got, well actually, so this part here, this piece here is going to go this way. Okay, and then we've got two pieces that are going to go like this, and they kind of cut where the little heart piece is. Okay, so we're going to get that glued down like that. And then we've got a nice little heart overlay. And then this little piece is going to go right on top there. So let's just start with that real quick. Let's get that glued in place. My glue bottle wants to be crazy today. It's got a mind of its own. I've seen a lot of, I'm talking about this again, but I've seen a lot of posts on the art glitter glue. And I may just have to try that out. I think I did take a look and noticed that it is pretty pricey, but I guess I'll have to give it a try since everybody's raving about it. Okay, so I've got the little heart in place. I'm going to get this piece in place following the little guides that we've provided for you. And then we're going to get this guy in place right next to that piece there. Use the little guide there for the left side. Make sure it's nice and centered and on the same plane there as your little neighbor. And let's get this guy in place. Don't need a lot of glue on this guy. Okay, get that nice and centered. That looks nice. Pretty good. Okay, and well, you know what we could do is, let's just get this glued in place real quick. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the flaps, or the little tabs here, and bend them this way. So if this is flat, that would be a valley fold. Okay, and just slide it through the little tab there. And let's close this up. Make sure that the tabs are all the way through when you close it so we don't damage it. Okay. And make sure that this thing's all the way out. Let's throw a little glue, just a couple dots. You don't need to go crazy with that. I'm going to spread that thin and actually maybe just add a couple more and not spread it thin. There we go. Just push that down, and you want it folding downward like I have it here. Okay. And just hold that down until it gets a good grip. Okay. And then let's go on the other side, flip it over, push down in this little area here to make sure that tab fully comes out. Get a little bit of glue on that tab and then fold it down. Okay. That looks good. All right, now you want to be careful when you open it that you don't tear it. And maybe just hold it down like this. Make sure that it pops up nicely for you. You can see how that looks. That looks nice. Okay, and I have a little area here that I didn't get enough glue on. So I'm just gonna pop a little bit of glue on my little razor blade here. You can use a piece of paper if you want. I just had a razor blade handy, so I'm using that just to push that little tab down a little bit more. Okay, so there is the thank you card. Now, the front of it, you're gonna take this panel and you're gonna glue that down to cover up the tab, okay? We can work on the inside here in a second. We may as well just get this down. So let's get our glue on this panel here, nice and thin, all the way around the design. Make sure you try to get some out to the very edge. There we go, that's nice. And then this little section here, you want it on the bottom. Okay, and get that nice and centered. Make sure you've got a nice even border going all the way around. Do your best. That's all you can do. And just push that down. Make sure that the edges are nice and glued down. I may need to go in here a little bit and use my little technique to get a little extra glue in that section there. But otherwise, that looks great. Okay, I'm gonna put our back panel on. Same thing, nice and thin, all the way around. Okay, make sure you're covering up that tab. Get it nice and centered. And this will be a perfect little area for writing a little message or journaling. There's plenty of negative or empty space on the front and the back. So you should have no problem finding a place for your favorite stamp or whatnot. Okay. Okay, so that looks great. Now, we can go ahead and decorate the inside here. You're gonna wanna grab this guy here. Now, this may be a little tough to see on camera, but there is a little notch here and a little notch here to help you with the placement of this piece. The little notch at the bottom there helps you align the tip of that. And then the other little notch is for this little area here where it starts to form the little circle. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and glue this down and then I'll show you where it needs to go because I need to get my face all up into this thing so that I can see better. Okay, so you can see where that one needs to go. And again, just use the little guides that we've provided for you. The other side will not have those guides, but as long as you get one side good, you can just mirror it on the other side. So find the spot and then find the distance from the actual pop-up element, and that should help you with the precise alignment there. Okay, so that looks cute. That looks cute. All right, now we've got one flower here. That's for the front. We've got two for the inside. We're gonna give these guys a little bit of a curl, just a tiny bit. Let it pop up a little bit. I mean, this thing's gonna be opening and closing, so you don't want it to be obnoxiously raised because that won't sit very well. Okay, now there are a series of notches here that align with the little valley of, between the petals there. So you want to make sure you get that aligned like that. Actually, that's not, yeah, there it is. Okay, so it's like that. Okay, so just make sure that those little notches are aligned with the little valleys between each of the petals. And I'm just gonna put some dots of glue around this little center hole because that's the only place that I want it to be glued down. So I have to get my face in here a little bit. Hope you don't mind. I'll show you what it looks like here in a second once I'm done. Okay. All right, so that's in place now. And again, you can always curl that back after the fact. Just raise it a little bit. Okay, then we've got this little green piece. We're gonna glue that right in the center. Just gonna put a little dot right there and just drop that right in place. Okay, same thing for the other side. Let's just curl that back just a tiny bit. Okay. Let's get our glue around the inner ring. Don't need a lot. I might even put too much on there. Okay, and again, get that nice and lined up with the little marks right in between the petal valleys, as we'll call them. Okay, and let's put a little drop there for my little green circle. And there we go. Okay, so there's the inside, almost complete. We've got a few little decorative leaves. Now these don't really have a marker. You're just going to do your best to get them aligned pretty much in between the petals. I'm going to put that one on the other side. I want the end of it facing down, coming off of this little leaf here, or little flower, I mean. Okay, so that looks good. There's 2 longer ones and 2 shorter ones. Just make sure you're putting the shorter ones off to the side here, like so. Okay, let's take a look at that. That looks pretty good. Okay, and then just put the other 2 on here. It's a cute little card. Just like that, vertically. Okay. A few little dots there. And let's get that one like that. Nice and vertical. That looks good. Maybe just flare these out a tiny bit more. Okay, so there's the inside of our card. There's the back, there's the front, and we've got one more little flower here. Just gonna go ahead and curl these petals. You can, yeah, I wouldn't curl them too much because they need to go inside of an envelope. Okay, let's throw a little glue on the bottom here. Maybe a little more than that. And again, just using the little notches here, you want to get them in between the little valleys between each of the petals. Get that nice and aligned. And then I'm going to finish that off with a little bling. There we go. And there is your beautiful freebie pop-up card. And we, of course, included an envelope. So grab your envelope. You want to go ahead and fold everything at the score marks here, like so. And then we've got the top flap. I'm going to go ahead and fold that. And what we're going to do is we're going to glue this flap to this portion here. Okay, so just go easy on the glue on this. Very easy on the glue. Make sure you get a nice line of glue right out to the edge. Okay. And just line that up like so. Push the tab down. Get that glued into place. Okay, and then all that's left to do, we're going to take this piece and glue it right here. So what you want to do is get a little bit of glue out around the perimeter, around the design, or the cutouts, I should say. Just pop that right on there. Make sure you get it nice and centered. Okay, then we're going to fold these tabs in and just very gently, very subtly get some glue on there. Get it right out to the edge. Okay, and I'm gonna spread that thin. Spread that thin. And then just close this up. Okay, like so. All right, so there's your envelope. And let's have a look here. Now, I should probably let that dry a little bit more before I pop my card in there, but there you go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope your card comes out as beautiful as mine did. Would love to see it. Especially if you're new to Dreaming Tree, definitely download this and give it a try. Follow along as long as you can get it cut out. I guarantee you can put it together. So I look forward to seeing your version of this card in the official Dreaming Tree group on Facebook. And of course, I look forward to crafting with you again. Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.